We live? Of course we're live. People, deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're doing well and safe. Thank you very much for tuning in, please. People, please make sure you hit the like button. I appreciate that you've all tuned in. Good afternoon to those in the UK. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and of course, good night, depending on who you are, wherever you are. Now, shout out to all the members, them. I see a couple of you in the comments. I appreciate all of you lot. My chance to just simply give back to you lot, really. You lot ask questions and whatnot, and I answer them simply. Members, feel free to keep the questions flowing in the chat. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Let me answer your questions. Simple as that. River, I knew you wouldn't miss it, man. Big up all the Scottish ones as well. Big up my moderators who aren't members, but they're obviously making sure the chat's calm. Not that they have to worry about this today because it's only members that can comment. Shout out to Emmanuel for becoming a member as well. I really appreciate you. I really do. Now, you can see the headline of the video, are you Arteta in or out? I'm going to get to that. I'm going to wait till I specifically see that question. Big up to everyone who's hit the like button so far. We're on 23 of those. So yeah, if you allow me, people, I can't even lie to you. My phone needs to charge and I've got it in an awkward angle. And I'm quite thirsty. But yeah, I'm just going to ask you questions. I've asked you them via the community tab, well, the members them. So let me do exactly that. If I can find them, here we go. 20 questions so far. Keep your questions flowing. Steve, big up yourself. Keep your questions flowing in the live chat, members. Please don't feel any sort of way about asking them. Let's kick it off with Peter. Shout out to you, my guy. What have you said? You actually haven't said anything, but you've said an important message, and it's actually a great way to kick this off. You've said, hope you and anyone else reading this are still managing to cope through the pandemic. One way I've coped is joining this amazing community of people and having a release for a couple of hours a day. Anyway, I don't really have a question. I just hope you're okay. If anyone is struggling, then don't suffer in silence. Remember, there's always someone there to help. Stay safe, people. That's a moving message and a fantastic way of starting this, Peter. And I know I'm primarily a football channel and we deviate, but that first and foremost, I can only speak for myself. Thank you for that kind message, man. It means a lot. This is bigger than football, and it means a lot, man, that my content's been able to give you a relief and the community's helped you. And big up to everyone who's participated in that. Like he said, the most important message, if you're suffering, I know it's easier said than done speaking, but speak up, people. You're not weak for doing such. You're actually stronger for doing such. Nobody wants to admit they have a problem in life. So Peter, lovely message, man. Lovely message. And with all respect to the other questions, football then becomes a bit insignificant when you do things like that. So love to you, man. Steve has said, what's an important question you have wanted to find the answer to but don't have? Stephen, yeah, this great that you've said that. Let me just fuck it, man. I'll charge this later. Sorry, people, for swearing. What have you asked? Big up Peter. Well said, man. Well said. But Steve has said once again, what's an important question you have wanted to find the answer to but don't have? Difficult one. I wish I did my history. I wish I did my homework on that answer. I'd say the meaning to life. I'd say the meaning to life. I think I've answered that myself, really. Like, for me, I believe the meaning to life is that it just goes on. Like, it just goes on, whether good or bad, it goes on. I think that's the scariest thing about life, and that's the beauty of life. I'd say that I've answered it, that it just goes on, really. Like, I think that's that. I'd say the question of life. I guess one thing I always ask myself, especially with my content, I'd say is, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I doing the right thing? Because on one hand, I always think, you're not progressing enough. You're not doing certain things. But then I look at certain plants that are being hatched and certain connections I'm starting to make and all of these things. And I feel you never quite truly know, but it's like I have an idea what I'm doing, but then again, I don't. So I would say that, but I'd say the meaning to life. Like, the meaning to life, because I always sit down like, surely there's more to this. Like, I'm a stubborn person. I think one big reason as to why I started my own channel is it's a way to kind of eventually one day live life on my own terms. It's like, I don't like the way life is written. Not in the sense of there's nothing wrong with working. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But it's just like work, pay taxes, boring stuff, like mundane, rush hour, all them things there. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. We've all got to grind. We've all got to do it. But it's like, There's got to be more to life than that. That can't just be, you know, you go college, go school, do whatever, and you end up there. There's got to be more to it. I got to live this life on my own terms, regardless of the color of my skin, where I'm from, you know, the connections I do or don't have. All of these sort of, I'm a stubborn person. You can give me 1,000 reasons as to why something isn't going to bang, and I'm just going to think of that one. You know, that stubbornness can obviously lead to stupidity and can be classed as stupid, but it is what it is. Big up yourself, my dude. You ain't missed a thing. Feel free to ask any question you've got. So, Steve, you know, you lot are in some very deep moods. You know, I was here to answer football questions. You lot, you know, shout out to Peter and Steve, man. They've kicked this off on a great one. John Doe said, do you know about Lee Buchanan, the Derby lad? Yeah, he said a young left back from Derby who comes highly recommended, would be a nice backup for Tierney. I do like him. I'm not watching him week in, week out. I think he can improve 1v1. He tries to get forward and he is a good left back. And, you know, maybe Derby will give us a deal because I know their finances aren't the best. So you're right. It is somewhere it is a street we could look to go down, essentially. Danny has said, big up Danny, big up all the members. Them, you said, any experiences meeting any Arsenal players, DG? If so, who were they? Who were you most gassed to see? I've seen a couple of the young ones and that, like a couple of the young G's and that. I've seen Aubameyang get into his car, but only Javinho, really, off the top of my head. Javinho, you know, Javinho. I'd say Javinho. I've seen him bare times, and I've seen him on is it Bond Street where the Apple store is? I've seen him there. I've seen him in Southgate. Where I've seen him one more at the next place as well. I've seen Night Town, Oxford Circus. I've seen him a good couple times still. I'd say Javinho, he was the easiest one. I'm so sure I've seen Andre Santos. I'm so sure I have a picture of Andre Santos. You know, if the most famous player I've actually met is sadly, and you know, a Spurs one is Gareth Bale. So yeah, man, I'm not really famous like that. And things like that. So I'd say that, man. If you was to ask me if I could, the player I'd be most gassed to see, then undoubtedly it's Thierry Henry or Patrick Vieira. And them things there. Big up B has said, if you could be in any of the Champions League winning teams over the last 10 years, which one would it be? Well, we're in 2021, so I think I can just about put 2011, right? Forgive me if I'm wrong. Was that not the great Barcelona side? I would say that, you know, because Messi's just going to make me look elite. You know, I'm a fullback, you know, so to play with Dani Alves, you know, it'd be amazing, you know, or to be second choice to Dani Alves and learn from him, be elite. You know, I would say that, man. I would say that without a doubt, the Barcelona side of 2011. Saying that, MSN, I'd say MSN. I'd say 2011, then MSN. It would have been fun to play with Cristiano Ronaldo by the same logic as well. Beyond that, yeah, I'd say that really, maybe the Liverpool side, just to be part of them great little comebacks against Barca and all those sort of things. I'd say that, but I'd say the Barca sides. Steve has said, what keeps you motivated? That life goes on, my guy. You know, I always, you know, I should save this for deluded thoughts and pardon my language, but I think you have to learn to understand yourself in life. That's one thing I've clocked in it. Like I'm still learning about myself. I'm 25, 26 on Tuesday, but you have to learn yourself. And I realize sometimes I can't articulate myself, but I feel inside there's a real cerebral assassin in me. And sometimes I sit there and I'm like, I'm tired, man. I'm this, I'm that, as you would. And pardon my language, you know, my subconscious goes, so what if you're tired? So what? Who cares? You're tired what? Other people are tired. Stop bitching and get on with it. It's these sort of things. Like I can feel sorry for myself and then have to get back on it. And just, I'd say the stubbornness and just, you know, life goes on. I can sit here and cry or move on with stuff, but the world's going to keep spinning, Steve. So I'd probably say that. Obviously, the conventional things, family, loved ones, all of those sort of things. I don't care about doubters, but I'd say to prove myself wrong. In a sense of, I want to see the best person I can be. I want to see if I can surprise myself. I have a goal of in relation to what I want to be. Everything, like, you know, the qualifications, the experience, the connections. I've got a picture of who I want to be, and I've got it written down on the wall. So every day I'm not that until I can wake up in the morning and every one of them things are ticks. Then that's what keeps a man motivated, isn't it? You need to know where. Wouldn't say I know where I'm going, but I kind of have a direction. So that kind of gives me a purpose. So once you got a purpose, I believe. Women as well, but primarily I'd say speaking for men, because I'm not a woman, you know. I would say men need a goal or a focus or something to do in life, you know. That's why you see idle hands either be doing mad stuff out there or, you know, going some sort of way mentally. I'm not saying this is the direct correlation, but I think a lot of things come from men is not having a sense of purpose. I'd say arguably arguably from the age of 16, speaking for black males in particular, you can go around the fields kind of wondering what is life, what are you supposed to do stuff. So I'd say the quicker you can find a purpose, the quicker life can get better, in my opinion. It's not as white and black as that, but you get the point. You've also said favorite Arsenal kit you own. It would actually be the bruised banana one, the remake they brought out. I don't wear it often because I love it, so I would say that one. John has come back and he said, what would you have to see between now and the end of the season to be fully Arteta in or out? I needed to quench my thirst there because I don't know how to answer that. Like that's a good question. It's one of them questions I always say, you're always trying to do the Liverpool high press and put me to pick a side. I'm going to say what I always said in the sense of what would I have to see to the end of the season? I'd have to see kind of more so what I'm seeing already, somehow it getting worse, if it gets worse. If you go out against Slavia Prague, I'd say these, if we keep playing like from now to the end of the season and I see not a turnaround in results, then again, I think damage was already done, but I would have to say that. I do think if he does win Europa League and things, he gets another year, but I would say there isn't much already. No, unless I'm admittedly, because of how the manner we've playing, I'm at the thingy, man. I'm at the closest I've ever been towards getting one in Arteta to potentially, whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't know, because at one hand, I don't think he's going to get sacked, but on the other hand, you can't. That's why I'm not Arteta in or out necessarily, because listen, for the ins and those of you who think I should be Arteta in, I haven't seen enough to what I want to do is blindly and boldly come out here and say that's my manager. I think there's some good in the guy. I think he, there's an element of he's done wrong. Been done dirty. I think he says some positive stuff and he does some positive stuff and he means well, but I haven't seen enough to wholeheartedly say Arteta is my guy. I'm not going to lead a witch hunt, but I haven't seen enough. I've seen dribs and drabs, but regardless of what you say about money, about all of these things, it kind of excuses he gets given, there is still no consistent DNA. We're still not defending well or attacking well. Let's be real. Whatever you say, we should be getting more out of our attackers. And I think the fact of not a single attacker throughout the whole season has excelled, some of that has to be down to the manager. He knew the role he was walking into as well. For all, as much as I feel sorry for him, he walked into this job. It's not the Ritz. You know what it is. Do I think he's been done dirty? Of course, but the variables that Arteta can control, he hasn't controlled them well enough, in my humble opinion. Like for instance, the substitutions yesterday, bro. As much as I think Kroenke needs to depart and all these things, bro, Arteta make the subs. The players didn't turn up to be counted, but he needs to make the subs, and it's little things like that. He's not shown me enough. Sometimes you earlier in the season, when he was really moving mad, wheeling through the 9 position and then bare crosses, I haven't seen a system. It hasn't been what I would have liked it to have been. Despite everything, I would have liked it to have been as easy as for me to say, you get this man some better players, he's going to perform better. And of course he would. These players are not good enough. Of course you'd see an uptake. But I don't have full confidence to say, all right, cool, he's got this out of someone, he's got doubts. Because when he came, all you heard was, yeah, Mustafi this, El Nene that now this year. Everybody was having an uptake. Maitland-Niles, Pepe, Aubameyang, this, that, and the other. So when it flips on it, I haven't seen it. I've seen a bit too much chopping and changing and things like that. And whatnot. I haven't seen enough consistency in tactics in Arteta, consistency in game and man management. For me, I don't think he's learning from his mistakes fast enough. That's a big problem as well. I'm all for novices and things, but I haven't seen, learning from it. And it just feels like a lot of the propaganda that was said about him is not matching up. So when I'm seeing my club double down in Arteta, I need to see you doubling down in something, and for the people that are Arteta out to your blue in the face, you can say what you want, but I just don't think it's as simple as Arteta goes and you get a next man and they do something better. I'm not saying that as a reason to keep Arteta. The man's been done dirty. Look at it on a basic thing. If you own a company and you have, one of your brethren wants to go into this job and you believe in him and whatnot, Are you not going to surround him with experience? Are you not going to surround him and put him in the best environment? In the same way, the players, the young guys coming through, it's not the best sporting environment to come into because you ain't got senior leaders to really look up to consistently, bar a few. The same as for Arteta. He's left to his own devices. Like you see, no man is perfect. He's making mistakes. Edu above him making mistakes. When you got no real culture, no real, for what I'd say, figurehead from playing staff to above that you can look at and say, yeah, that's what Arsenal's about. It's a problem. Managers should be very disposable. We should be able to sit here and say, yo, Arteta leaves, we do better. Because there should be a mentality, because this club should be able to function without a certain chairman, without a certain player, without the manager. You know, again, I always look at the Bayern Munich model. For obvious reasons, we're not Bayern Munich people. But do you really think the manager needs to go into that office and say they need to be looking at a striker long-term for Lewandowski? Because he's not going to be there forever. You know, the minute he signed the new deal at Bayern Munich, I bet you they've started their scouting thing for him long term. And that same principle can be applied everywhere. You know, as much as I think he hasn't helped himself. I think the lack of creativity in the team was his own doing. He wouldn't use Ozil, a reluctance for Smith Rowe. He stumbled across that. He had to get in Odegaard. But I feel sorry for him. When you hear, I want Aouar, you're not bringing a man Aouar. You know, we're messing around with Partey in pre-season. Beyond Partey having to take responsibility, can we really be surprised the man hasn't settled? You know, we haven't done all the business we needed to do. You know, like I said, with Maitland-Niles, with Ozil, with all of these guys that have now left, how many times one minute they're staying and it's, you know, they're righting the wrongs and they're playing, the next minute they're gone. We're doing stuff in January what you should be doing in the summer. You know, we're reactive across all aspects, and he is obviously going to struggle in that regards, people. You know, he's going to struggle. He really is. So I don't think it's as simple as that. I haven't seen the one thing I'd say from Arteta that you can control. I think you haven't shown enough consistency in tactics, consistency in the playing staff, consistency in holding certain people to account. And for me, of recent, chopping and changing in defense. Now, he was doing that a few months ago and we was winning, so it didn't matter. But you need stability, especially in that back five. It's not good enough in that regard. So I haven't seen enough to wholeheartedly say Arteta's my guy. You know, I genuinely believe both people that are extremes on both sides, beyond the balance people, they just want to sit here and say, I told you so. I told you he was going to turn it around. I told you he wasn't good enough. I don't have the answers. I don't know if my man's going to be a success. I've seen you win the FA Cup. I have seen some good. I've seen over your first full season, you know, as much as it's a free hit, I don't think you've learned enough. I think you've been stubborn at the times you're not supposed to be stubborn, and you've been flexible at the times you should not be flexible, and double down really and truly. And we haven't got the culture. And the way Arteta speaks, I think he wants to change it, but one man can't do it. That goal, like I said, not even Kroenke could change it alone. But what he could do is be a bit more proactive in trying to get us in that image. You know, if we need to, the quicker we fix up off the field, you'll see improvements on it. You know, we're paying for the mistakes off it, and it's there in the playing stuff. You know, we didn't get here overnight with these players. That result you saw yesterday and had seen against West Ham and all these other things we've taken L's, they're years in the making through different people. And if we talked about changing the culture, I don't want to forget Ivan Gazidis. Forget Arsene Wenger. Yeah, we've moved on now. We've had Emery. You've had Mislintat. You've done the Raul Sanye. Now you've got Edu. Bro, we're still in the same place. Some of these players are still here. And I know it's easier said than done, but some men are still here. We're still generally signing the same sort of players, and that is 5 games on, 5 games off sort of thing. There's still, for me as well, it almost doesn't make sense, but it's like we're not signing players that are going to fit the system. We're just signing good players, or players that have had outstanding years, or players that are good, but we can chat to their clubs and we can do some bright house payments and things like that. Until these things are reworked, we're going to be in the same scenario each and every time, again and again and again and again and again. So I haven't seen enough. I really haven't. And one thing about Arteta as well, my biggest pet peeve is actually the in-game tactics, because I've said it before and I'm going to sound like a broken record. How many times have you looked, and I've over the last couple of days, I've said it a bit more, but how many times have I said, I like how Arteta clearly, you know, he can study for a week, 2 weeks, an opposition. He can find out what they want. He can probably find out, you know, the opposition's favorite shower gel and them things there. You know, he can set up a plan to a T. Like in a boxing match, I always say boxing, you know, he can clock, oh, that guy is a southpaw, he likes to jab, so you need to do this. So come fight, he can train for that. But come fight day, if what you've been training for, my man flipped the other opponent, my man flips it on its head and bangs you with his other hand, I don't think Arteta's always been accounted for that. And I think it's been there in games. It's like, we're just getting banged and banged and banged, and we're just taking it sort of thing. We're not reacting. And I think you saw that against Olympiacos in stages. You saw that against Brendan Rodgers at the Emirates, Dean Smith, sorry, at the Emirates, Nuno twice. You saw it, like I said yesterday. You've seen it a few times, and that's a pet peeve of Arteta, because as many times as I think he's got it wrong in those regards, he's beat some good managers. We're ninth, but we've got a better record against the top six. This is why we're a halfway house. There was literally a point in the season, people, correct me if I'm wrong, we had identical wins and losses. We're at this mad stage, and I think fans reflect it. You're either very extreme in that it's not the manager, it's not the players, it's this and that, or you're moaning at everything. There's no balance. There's many variables to this football club and why we're here, and it's quite scary, people. It really is. But I would be. I don't like. I always said this, and I think he has been playing like he's had a free hit, because he's tried to. Sometimes certain players have been allowed to try and play their way into form. Certain players are in form and you drop them out, and then we wonder they have an off day when you've taken that rhythm out of them. I think he's not got that real pressure on him. I think, I get why they're doubling down, because you get these Allegris and these guys, bro, they're not going to have the patience Arteta's going to have for this nonsense. I just see my club doubling down on the manager, and I'm not, as much as I think he's being harshly done by at times. Why are you doubling down on him? Why is he now not a head coach? He's a manager. Why is he getting more of a say in transfers? And I'm not really seeing much of it. I do think if he is in this similar scenario this time next year, or even Christmas, I do think he's gone. But this year, I think there's so many luxuries. He never had a pre-season. He never got the players. We did what we did in January. There's been injuries. There's been a whole heap of things. The players are just simply not good enough as well. Next season, I think he'll have his first try. And for me, I just wanted to see a blueprint. I don't really see the blueprint. I see the playing out from the back and that, but I can't. I've said it before, I can't rate Arteta for the playing out from the back, because the very first man who was on that was Emre. Remember, Emre and I'm not saying that to back Emre. I'm not doing what fans are doing, wishing Emre and Wenger was back, people. Don't get it twisted. But remember, Emre came in, people were saying he's bugging out for doing that. Now, maybe he tried to do it a bit too early. Maybe the personnel wasn't necessarily there, but Emre tried to do the building out from the back. I'm not saying Arteta hasn't enhanced it and put his own spin on it, but that's the forefather who did this thing, innit? You didn't really do it like that, The young players, fair enough, Saka, you're playing him and that, and you're definitely helping him develop, but that was a Una Emre one, really, to a slight degree. Smith Rowe, that's a Una Emre one. I ain't really seen you put your hat on a man, on a young player and really develop them per se. You ain't done it with Martinelli. You ain't do it with Saliba. You haven't really done it. Maitland now always gets propaganda when there's new gaffers. I'm not saying he should or shouldn't, by the way. I'm just painting a picture. Smith Rowe, it seemed like only at a push when we had to play him is when he got his look in, Reece Nelson is someone I thought was really going to benefit by Arteta coming in. And to be fair, it's a bit of both. He did say Arteta did allegedly tell him he need to go on loan. He has started him in big games, but you get it, people. I haven't really I see the closest you've probably got to that is when that little period Nketiah had where he had a little bit of form. He was keeping the two big boys out, the team up front. He was doing his thing, and he was really fresh home from that Leeds loan. That was him. That's the closest I've really seen. I've seen him try do up Joe Willock, but with all due respect to Joe Willock, I ain't seen him perfect it. Once again, Arteta, you as a midfielder, are you honestly looking at Joe Willock and saying, yo, okay, cool, you're good with the box to box stuff, but you need a bit more quality, because Joe Willock's got some qualities that can actually help us. But if we're playing a low block, it's not one of them games for the blood and passion and things. You got to control the ball in that, and I ain't really seen him polish off some players. And that is what we needed. The minimum I wanted to see is at least a way of playing, at least a consistency in the way we're playing, at least a sort of, I can see the raw blueprint. On one hand, I think I can, but on the other hand, I think I can't. I can't undoubtedly see it. And as much as we can say these squad are poor, they're poor technically, but for me, the real problems are mentally. There's teams above us, just below us, or whatever. There's managers getting more out of it. So are you communicating to your players good enough and all of those sort of things? This is why, and one thing I always have an issue with, when we win, despite the odds, like, Spurs, Chelsea, it's always a master stroke by the manager. When we lose, it's always what can you do with those players when the truth is in between. Focused on yesterday, I said it once, I say it again. Would I have started Willian? No, I don't think Willian played bad, so I don't get him at that. The players were just caught cold and were not serious. I don't think the manager has to tell you why you should fix up, especially after he's given bullish fighting talk all week. And I'm not being funny. I'm starting to question if these players care about their actual profession. If you're an electrician, you should want to be the best electrician you could be. I don't know if these footballers want to be it, because for me, I'm taking it personally that we're ninth, because I was part of this last year. You know, we might be going out of Europe. I'm sure, listen, no, money's a serious thing. I'm sure there's little bonuses and all of those sort of things there for Europe. I'm sure some of these footballers probably just want to go away from their wives. So there's opportunities to go away in Europe. So they're not playing like that. You know, they just ain't got the fight. But if away from that, he took too long with the changes. Too long, people. So yeah, man, I haven't seen enough. I'm at that point now where I would rather the players go than Arteta, purely because it is a bit like I said, Emre. Some of these players have been here for years and they didn't do the business and they're poison. But I'm at that stage now where, you know, I don't really care. Like, you know, unless it's for me, the only people I care about truly connected with this football club. You know, if Arteta stays, I'm like, cool. If he goes, I'm like, there's no affiliate tick. I ain't seen nothing. I only care about Tierney, Bukayo Saka. I'm not going to name the rest, but you know the players of that ilk. They're the only ones. The manager ain't shown me enough. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to see the coaching staff. You know, the Donny with the one ear pod can stay, to be fair with you, just because he's on an iconic thing. But yeah, I ain't seen enough, man. But the way it's going, you know, it's only pointing to one road, really. So yeah, love for that. Hopefully I've answered that one. I've spent a long time on that. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, people. Doesn't cost a thing. It doesn't cost a thing. We're at 71 likes. Keep pushing that one there up. Let's keep going. John has said, since Arteta is trying, John is on to Arteta, and he said, since Arteta is trying to shoehorn both Lacazette and Aubameyang, would you entertain? Is he really though? Sorry to stop you. Is he really though, or is he just chopping and changing consistently? And it's like, it's one of them. You don't really know what meal you're trying to cook or how much spice you want in it. So you're just putting bare all-purpose seasoning, and you're doing bare different stuff and just tasting it and seeing what bangs. And stuff is too spicy here. You're putting in something to counteract that. I don't know. You lot would have to answer that. But like you said, since Arteta is trying to shoehorn both Lacazette and Aubameyang, would you entertain any change of formation that would include playing both a striker and Odegaard in the 10 behind them, aka a 4-4-2? For me, I don't, or a 3-4-1-2. I would, in theory, I'd entertain these things in general, but I don't believe in our midfield pivot. I've said it before. Shout out to Curtis Shaw, because I've been on his show and I said we could do 4-4-2, but I don't believe in the midfield pivot. That's what it comes down to. And if you're gonna, in today's day and age, 9 times out of 10, you're playing 3 in midfield, or if you're not doing that, you know, a striker, is dropping into midfield. So if you're gonna have a pivot, they have to be bloody good. Not only locking down the midfield, but they also have to help out centrally as well as the wingers. But when you see wingers not always tracking, fullbacks caught out of position, centre mids caught at 1s and 2s and giving the ball away needlessly and under pressure, or under no pressure more time. Centre halves not communicating, a keeper not communicating. Like, I think one very concerning thing with Leno is, I don't think he's vocal enough. Like, even yesterday, he's coming out for the ball and then he's moaning at Gabriel for not saying anything. Bro, let the guy know you're there. You know, if you shout keepers, you know, get anyone that's played football, you know, if that's your keeper, get out of the way. If you're a striker, you got to be on a Braveheart thing. If you're going to score, you're going to get hurt. So there's several things wrong, man. So it will come down to it comes down to the midfield pivot. So until I see a better midfield sort of thing, it's a myth. It's an absolute myth, people. What is Mr. Adlib saying? People have a culture of wanting to be first rather than wanting to be factual. It's sad, see. True. You like that one there. Shout out to Con, man. Big up moderators as well. Nobody really mentions David Dean when they talk about creating a culture. I think having it from the top is so key. Facts, broski, facts. What's Con said, bro. The other thing is that people can be Arteta out till they're blue in the face. No matter what happens, he's getting till Christmas minimum. Feels like wasted energy getting caught up on it at the moment. Con, you're right in relation to Arsenal in general. You know, support the club. Let's sit here and talk. But I personally feel, just for, not because it's right, because it's not right. We shouldn't park our energy off. We shouldn't give up. But, you know, let's just review the team, talk about the talking points. But if you can, that emotion and that allowing your day to be ruined, your sleep to be ruined. Me yesterday couldn't even eat my food. I didn't want to eat my dinner. I didn't eat it. That sort of stuff there we've got to rub it out, because if the players were on that sort of stuff, it's calm. That man there probably went Haki-san, probably pre-ordered Haki-san on the delivery and whatnot on the way home. Probably man, they were probably sorting that out in the change room. So until they start believing like that, or we can see that they believe it and love it like that, which I think Tierney and them sort of man there are on, it's a myth. It's an absolute myth. And for me, I feel how you feel, but I would change that statement to something along the lines of the owner, because I'm not saying don't criticize the manager, don't want change, because we at the end of the day we're watching what we're watching, but it's like it just feels like for me wasted energy, because we've seen different managers, different to a degree, different players, different managers, different executives, and all of these guys in suits. And the one consistency is we've been inconsistent and we've been steadily declining like a number of years. It's unfortunate, but Arsenal already are, I'd say, but we're sleepwalking into the oblivious. We're sleepwalking into annihilation. We are not, bro. We're going to, if this continues, it's peak. It's peak. And again, we won't get there overnight. We're steady sleepwalking, because before it went from winning league titles and all those sort of things, top four, I'd bite everybody's arm off, pause, to go back to when we used to be mocked for getting top four. That one day is done. We're not in Europe. You know what? We finished fifth one year. You managed to finish seventh. I'm praying we finish ninth. We could finish lower than that. We're languishing them things. I'm hoping to God better teams drop points and we finish as high as fifth. Maybe just do something in it. But we're not getting there overnight. We're steady doing bad things and ending up here. You know, it's a harsh example, but it's like somebody who's, who's lost everything due to gambling. You didn't lose it all overnight. You started probably gambling a little £1, £2, 50p, a tenner, 20 sheet, a pinky. What you see, I'm even going up a pinky. Bro, I've lost hella p's in the bookie, so this is probably the worst example. But yeah, you get it. It's steady going up and up and up, and then you know what? You're stealing you're stealing what's it? You're stealing your wife's stuff and pawning it, and then shotting it, and you're doing all this little mad stuff, and you see how people rack up debts and lose his houses. They didn't get there overnight. That first bet didn't lead to you losing. It did, but it didn't lead to you losing your house 24 hours ago. You steady made bad decisions. You steady got complacent. You steady stopped thinking logically. You steady continue to practice ill practices and doing the wrong things. Lo and behold, you woke up one day surprised, but you shouldn't be surprised. You need to be able to read the signs when they're there. But facts, man. Love in the comments there, man. What other questions have we got, man? So yeah, you lot are right, man. Let's keep scrolling down. Shout out to you lot. Shout out to the members. Steve, wait, Con, you got more questions here, man. What have you said? Big up DG, new member after watching you for a minute. Appreciate the level-headedness you bring to your videos. That's needed after spending too much time on Twitter after a loss. Love, my dude. What do you make of the situations with Nelson, Nketiah, and even Balogun to an extent? Obviously, they are not up to the standard at the moment, but financially and in brackets and for homegrown reasons, you'd think we'd want to keep them, especially given Maitland-Niles / Willock potentially leaving. Would you cut our losses and trust in the next lot of under 23s, or keep them for cut game / comp? It's a difficult one, and it's difficult to thingy kind of blanket statement that, and obviously since you've posted that, we've heard the news about Balogun. But it's like you said, I know, and many people know, no matter what you say about a lot of these young players, we need to remember the homegrown factor. And it does look like, I'd say the one assurance to leave appears to be Maitland-Niles. He's changed agents. He's got 2 years left. He weren't really getting game time. Joe Willock weren't really getting game time, but you genuinely get the opinion that Arteta is just, you're just not level sort of thing. And it will be more Joe's decision to push. I think Maitland and Arteta have come to a decision, especially if he's going to play in midfield. But we do need to keep a couple of them. Same way, it's a difficult one though, because, playing devil's advocate, someone might say, do you know what, West Brom are going down. We'll take Maitland-Niles off you. Put that on a little sell-on fee. You might be able to do the same to Joe, potentially, and Nketiah, and you've put a little money in to do something else. Of course, we'd have to keep homegrown stuff, and I think that's why we probably will hang on to Callum Chambers, or if Chambers is let go, one of the men that I've probably said will probably stay. We're in a difficult decision, my guy, but as you know, we didn't get here overnight. You're right on that. With Balogun, it's difficult to assess what's happening with him, what we should do with him without all the others. For me, if Arteta is sitting down with him and saying, listen, you got to work, you got to be patient, but you're genuinely going to get your chances and it's down to you, then by all means stay for the year. If it's a thing where, all right, cool, you signed a new deal, but I can't really, you're a player in the future. Right now, for us, it's a bit iffy and these things. I understand it. So find him a good place to go out on loan, let him develop. If he can make it here, he can make it here. If he can't make it here, it is what it is. So I would say that. A part of me would even say give Nketiah a new deal and send him out on loan, because he might end up, I would probably sell him. That's my first thing, but he might end up becoming a better player, and he might not become levels for Arsenal, but he might be able to make you a few bucks. So I'd say that, man. Nelson, I think Nelson's got to get out of Arsenal now, man. Situations can change in an instance, and I think he's got the ability to play here, but you're not playing. Like, unless something is said, you're not playing. You need to go and play football next year. And if Arteta says, it's going to be that for you next year, I hear, fair enough, but he needs to go get football. He's been linked with Olympiacos as well. In terms of the next crop of under 23s, me, I'm a fan of Tyrese, John Jules. I think the couple of the younger ones below under 23s level can have a good shot of making it here. I do like Mola at under 23s, but for me, the Charlies, Miguel Aziz can make it here as well, but give him time. Miguel Aziz, Patino, Brooke, Amari, these are Kiddo. These are guys that are very young, but we should be looking at them long term. In terms of, I'd say under 23s, I think need immediate football. Then there's an ability there. I'm not sure on cutting our losses, because if I'm half of these under 23s, Ballard, Clark having 2 good years on loan, for example, Matt Smith previously, you probably need to. You don't want to keep going on loan at Arsenal, and especially if you're a centre half at first team level, it's already complicated. So it's a difficult one. But all I care about is we're making peas, and this is what I mean, my bro, by we need to be proactive, selling Maitland, selling Nketiah, doing all of these things. They might be the right decisions. We might look back and say they were the wrong decisions, but we need to double down on it. I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but we can't go next season and for the whole summer, it's looking like you're selling Maitland now, then you dash him in the Community Shield. Not that we're going to be in that this year, and he plays well, and now he's locking it down and he's staying and things. We need to double down on players. Are we selling? Are we keeping? Because we've got too much of this storyline business at this football club. We've got a tough summer. We've got hella players on loan. There's difficulty in relation to contracts. Existing players. What are you doing with David Luiz? Granit Xhaka's got 2 years left. Bellerin spoken of going. I've said those 3 specifically because they're allegedly leaders in the team. That's another thing to go back to the question with Arteta. I don't think he's leaned on the new dawn sort of guys at this team to create a new era, because, everybody can change. But if we looked at it cynically, lepers don't change their spots. Some of these players have had Wenger, Emre, temporarily Longberg, and now Arteta, and they've been consistently inconsistent. But maybe if you threw your hat on, the Pepes, the Gabriels, the Saka, Smith Rowe, and a couple of them 23s, they're the guys that have a reason to be affiliated to you, because you've kind of given them real opportunities, and that can help build the new culture. How can you really build a new culture with the same old individuals in positions of importance? I'm not saying you can't. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I big up yourself, Steve. Anyone that's got any serious gambling addictions, things, they'll get help, or stop gambling and send DG super chats. At least your P's will get spent on something serious, man. But on a serious note, Steve will come back with questions. I big up you. Alexander, I appreciate that. New member business, I appreciate that. I appreciate the 163 of you tuned in. Please make sure you're running up the questions, people, because we're getting to the end and I'm not going to force it. Members only, please. Moderators, it ain't getting answered with respect. Claudius has said, does Balogun signing a new contract stop us pursuing Edouard, especially if Lacazette stays? It probably, for me, would then shift the focus maybe to an out-and-out left winger. But again, he shagged himself with Willian, because, I just think they then shift it to a left wing. I don't think it should, because, again, you still need to, regardless of Balogun, as much as Balogun's 30, he ain't played 10 games senior football. We don't know his true level. I hope he can take over the mantelpiece. I hope he can either take that over, be a rotation option, do something, but we don't know. And realistically, like I said earlier with the Bayern Munich example, man need to be looking at a replacement for Aubameyang, Simple as that. So I would say it probably shifts our focus, and maybe we can double down on some central midfielders, because I'm like you. I would like us to go for a forward, but I just, I've seen us do the striker thing, and we've just ended up being top heavy. It's not been a thing where we doubled down on it and said, we can't defend, but we'll score mad goals and doing that. I'd rather just you try pattern defense, try have a competent midfield, and then when we've got that, the creme de la creme, the people you pay to go to the Emirates or pay your subscriptions for. So it probably puts that on pause, but generally, arguably this is probably the time to confirm his signing, because it looks a bit shaky at Celtic and he looks like he's going for a cut price. Bellar has said, in what ways do you think that women's football can improve? I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm not a frequent viewer of women's football to really be commenting on that. I don't have any clue. Maybe the technical ability, because when I watch it, the technical ability is good, but generally, in comparison, some teams are way better than the other. I would say that. Maybe publicize it a bit more. I have seen there's now becoming TV rights deals and things like that. I think what women's football needs is a couple flag bearers to really drive up interest. And what you got to remember, I'm not saying women haven't been playing football for a while, but, in comparison to the men's game, you got to remember how much years are they chasing, You got to remember football didn't, there was a time footballers had to, way before my time, but footballers had to have normal jobs. You could be a footballer and a greengrocer, and it's steady gone on. Them days there, women barely could have a voice, let alone kick a football. So they're chasing hundreds of years, really. So it's not going to be a quick process. But I'd say as a male looking at it, maybe take more of an interest, I would say, because I'm really bad at it. As much as I love Arsenal Football Club and I have watched Arsenal's women, I couldn't tell you the starting 11. I couldn't tell you the manager. I can tell you very little, and that's shameful for me to say. So that's, I guess, take more of an interest without sounding condescending, of course. John, big up John, man. You've been John and Steve, you lot have been covering this live stream basically. If we had a midfield pivot of you at Arsenal, then maybe we didn't need our and all these sort of guys. But what has John said? Would it make sense to re-sign players like Eddie, loan them out next year, and then sell them next summer or the summer beyond? Clubs would have bigger budget again due to things going back to normal, so it would be able to sell him for more. No, that's where I said I don't mind if Arsenal keep Eddie. Do you know the one thing I would probably say I'm against is keeping Eddie at this football club, because it's not going to help for another year without permanently, because he's not going to do much. I'm down for him signing a new deal if possible and going on loan and then becoming he might be a £5 million player, might turn into a £20 million player. Obviously, who doesn't want to profit? I'm on that. I'm fully on that. That's why I'm not against him signing a new deal. But I think it's a thing where he's just going to get moved on, really and truly, in my opinion. Pardon me. 1-1 has said, big up DG. Did you grow up playing with anyone that went on to make it? A couple of guys made it, but I'd say a guy I was in his team was actually someone who played against Chelsea, Darnell Furlong. That showed me a lesson where if you've got a famous dad, you can make it, man. But shout out to him, man. He used to, do you know what? Yeah, he's balling out. He was a baller, 7 till about 10 years of age. He's playing up front. That guy used to win games for us. And when we got to secondary school, mum's life, he didn't stand out. Not sounding, he's playing ball. Who cares? My opinion don't matter. Football, that's another lesson. Football, that sort of thing there. And the club we was at, it told me football's a funny old game of opinions and football's a stitch up, because there was ballers at our team and only certain men were getting the bring-ins for the Southamptons and the Southends and the Lutons and things. And more time, not away from Darnell, because he was gone by now. It was the shit man as well. Dead man as well. People bringing their sons and that. Is what it is though. No biggie. That's that. What have you said? What could Arsenal do to improve the youth setup? Well, as much as I love us, we've got some better, let me not talk. I know people are starting to listen, but below under 16s, even under 16s, the crop isn't the strongest. So maybe we could look to try and compete more strongly with the Chelseas and stuff. Or in fact, you can't compete with Chelsea at youth level. Their man are sweeping it up. But what you can give them is that it's competitive, but it's less competitive. Or what you can do is something that's been serving us. It's taking the players that get released from them, just signing them up. Simple as that. The good ones, we've had that already. I would say our scouting could be better. Could we look to do a pattern, all sort of stuff, and get at these category 3 clubs a bit better? I'd say that probably be a bit more aggressive. Could we start increasing our scouting network? Because where Chelsea is, they cover London and they cover the outskirts. Well, I think their catchment area is as close as Portsmouth. I swear that's where Mason Mount's from. They can come all the way to North London, and there's funny ways to get around this, and all the way probably up to Brighton or something, or deep Surrey. That you see, Arsenal can't compete with that. Spurs can't compete with that. Palace can't compete with that. It's a myth, but you can try or do things differently. You've also said, what could the club do to stop young players leaving and going abroad? Maybe more of a thingy. Maybe what's the word? My mind went blank. Maybe have more pathways, more clarity. It hasn't always looked like we've got a pathway or clarity for these young players. You're always going to lose some. Like, let's not get it twisted. You can't hold them all. Chelsea are going to get a Jamal Musiala. We're going to get a Yunus Musa. And for him, the club actually did all they could. he wanted to leave, for a good opportunity at Valencia. And now look, he's an American international and those things. I think his development could have been close to Bukayo Saka. I think he'd be in this midfield right now. I think we'd be using him centrally as well as off the right, but it's not meant to be, man. It is what it is. Whatever it is, what it is in that regards. What have you said, bro? That's what Blackburn's Rovers under 23s, 21s do. Exactly. It's the pool of life. The creme de la creme, man and gal, they're gonna be with each other, and the ones that don't hit it, they're gonna start dropping down the levels. Is how it goes. And sometimes you get a little gem there. Sometimes you can't compete. Sometimes you just have to let dogs fight it out and then get the scraps. And sometimes them scraps are good. What Smith Rowe didn't get in Chelsea. There's nothing wrong with that, but it worked for us. And Ketia, whatever you say, it didn't bang for him at Chelsea. We're gonna make a couple mil, whatever you say on him, and we've got some use out of him as a first teamer. So I'd say stuff like that. There's nothing you really can do. Just keep showing that there's a pathway for young players, really. You said, which academy player do you tip to make it to the first team? You know me, I don't like these questions. I'm not going to say anyone directly, but I do think I think there's a bunch of players, man. I think Brooke in on the under 18s, I think he could sneak it at right back. I think Daniel is certified as well. I think Charlie is good. Charlie Patino is good. Jack Tyrese, John Jules, and Balogun, I back them all the way. There's several players. Amari Hutchinson's been playing quite well. Kiddo Taylor Hart's been standing out. You got Nathan doing his thing at under 18s as well. There's a bunch of them. Like, there's all potential. They've all got it. It's just down to a mixture of things, but man. But I just based on the first team right now, I'd just say, just to humour you, Brooke, because I think Brooke, because what it is with Brooke, it's the attitude as well. Kion Edwards as well, very underrated striker in the grand scheme of all of this stuff as well. Bad boy striker, Kion is. There's pair of them. Like it is what it is, man. I'm not here to predict. I just document. I love to watch them, and I genuinely feel a lot of these names I said, they're either going to make it at Arsenal or go on to have other careers elsewhere, man. Love for that though. What have you said? 1-1 has also said Arteta's best and worst quality. Best quality. Ooh. Best quality. He showed me he can do the tactics thing. He showed me he can he's got it wrong a lot, but he showed me he can do the tactics thing. I'd say his planning. He does strike me as someone who plans well. Worst quality, I would say, inconsistent game and man management, reluctant to make subs when they need to be. And I would say, at least to the fans, it appears there's a bit of inconsistency in terms of the rules, and if you played badly, you're coming out and stuff like that. Sometimes I think he chops and change generally too much. Like the way he was talking about Pepe in the press, I'm like, okay, but you've been taking him out of the team. You can't be surprised at this. Some of the things, it's like, it's always the example I give you. It's like standing in the rain and complaining why you're wet, sort of thing. It's them things there. Smith Rowe, Odegaard in the 10. If my life is on the line, then I'd probably lean towards more Odegaard because he's more immediate. But nah, I'm gonna go with Smith Rowe. He's Haaland, man. And Odegaard's not our player, man. I ain't twerking for no player that ain't ours, as much as I like him. John has said, bit non-football related, but what's your take on the vaccine? No pressure, but my membership depends on your response. I'm joking. Nah, it's cool. I'm trying to think very carefully. Listen, it is what it is. If you need to take the vaccine, go take the vaccine, innit? Like, I think just go and take it if you need to take it, innit? It is what it is, man. Like, personally, I'm not really on it because I'm trying not to be insensitive, but them new sort of things there scare me. I need to see some serious reports and things like that before that gets injected into me. But yeah, man, if you need to take it, if you've got health complications, go and do that. But I know there's a lot of things said about COVID and all of this, and I'm sure you will get the WhatsApp, so I don't know what to say there, but I'm going to leave it at that one. B has said, Arsenal wins the Champions League for 3 years in a row, or Jamaica win the World Cup. Hey, national pride goes above every club. I love Arsenal Football Club, but yeah, man, Jamaica winning the World Cup would be something. Would be absolutely something. Claudius once again has said, would you entertain a 4-4-2? Yeah, if we had the midfield, if we had the pivot. Mr. Adlibs come with the questions as well. He said he still hasn't forgot my disrespectful comments about Morley's. What are you saying? You South Londoners are on me for that. Love for that. A man said, long time no Q&A. Who are you taking? Prime Henry or R9? Shout out to Henry, but R9. And you said, what do you know about Hozek? He's doing a madness in FM, nothing. So that's someone for me to research. His name does look familiar. Is he Bulgarian? If he's Bulgarian, if not, then I have no clue. I'm guessing. You've said as well, if you could bring back one player from Arsenal past to this current squad, who would it be? Cesc Fabregas, Rosicky, Van Persie, or Sol Campbell? Listen, shout out to Rosicky. Definitely when you saw the chances we missed yesterday, Robin Van Pagen could be up there. I would say it would be out of Sol Campbell and Fabregas, because a prime Sol Campbell was a world-class defender, one of the best in the world, and he would help us. Away from that, he's a leader. Could you imagine Sol Campbell in his prime, marshalling Gabriel? Gabriel would look a tenfold even better. That would be able, for then, I'd be able to focus on our midfield within reason, because I have faith in him. So Sol Campbell, Cesc Fabregas, because again, Cesc Fabregas is an elite baller. And yeah, man, we're missing that. And Cesc leads by example, man. He leads by example. So I would probably say Cesc Fabregas, and he had that knack of just digging us out of uncomfortable situations. And he could pass the ball forward. Like, he could do things in less touches. We had a quality world-class midfielder there. Like, and obviously, Rosicky would make a massive impact, man. I know he's not there, but for me, I can't look past Santi Cazorla, man. I just think Santi would make this 10 times better, man. I remember I got killed. You go back to one of my earliest YouTube videos, then Pussy Holes didn't delete the comments. I asked, is Santi Cazorla underappreciated? Because I think at the time by fans he would, and people like, what are you talking about? It's madness, man. He's Czech, apologies. One of them sort of them Eastern European sort of region nations. Apologies for the mishap, though. Is there any other questions? I swear, I think I've been missing one out, man. Essa said, I've seen too many players come out against the fans. If they were concerned, they'd take criticism on the chin and move, not abuse. Facts, and more facts. Use that energy to be playing well, man. Whatever you said. Big up Alexander. You said, hey, DG, many fans want Lamptey and Basuma. My only knock on that is I see us looking at Hakimi and Odegaard, their guys, and then see the Brighton guys, and it feels like Champions League aspirations versus survival. I hear where you're going with him in principle, but I'd say no, because I think too many football fans get caught up in name brand. Half of these footballers had to become something before, or be given an opportunity before they became that. Lewandowski, he had way before he's playing for Bayern Munich and Dortmund, someone had to scout him in his home nation. And, there has been several. Imagine if that logic was kind of applied when Liverpool went from Mo Salah. I know it's not the same. Or even Kevin De Bruyne from City, when City took him at Wolfsburg, because he was doing his thing in Germany, but he wasn't this guy now. Or Raheem Sterling, when they look mad for putting 50 million on him, So it's all about the plan and the system. Of course, Hakimi or Lamptey. Lamptey would help us because he's homegrown, and obviously I like Lamptey, but the fitness, Hakimi's going to cost a pretty penny, and that's a significant outlay on a right back. Would probably rule out maybe getting a midfielder. I would love Odegaard, but Odegaard's probably 50 a pop. Basuma's costing a pretty penny, really and truly. I wouldn't mind either, really, I don't really see it as that. I just see that as, obviously the other two are creme de la creme sort of guys like that, but I just see it as a thing where we're just trying to get better players, which them two are. Emma said, is there any coaches you could recommend to help Mikel Arteta? It's a difficult one because we don't know how he likes to coach and things like that. It's a very difficult one, but I would like to see. I don't know, man. Like, it's a difficult one. I wish we had our own sort of Jody Morris. I wish we had our own sort of Rennie Muhlenstein or Carlos Queiroz. I wish we had them sort of guys, man. But we don't, man. It is what it is, man. This is it. We had local, let's be real, yeah. Lomberg weren't world class, or wasn't a massive name like that within reason. He kind of was, but because of the Swedish stuff, but he wasn't. You get it. Ray Parlour, we love him, but he was hardly world class. We had a bunch of players like that. As long as you're competent, consistent, and you understand what this thing is about, then I think you're calm, really. That's just me anyways, man. No worries about that. I think you're behind, man. I answered all your questions, my guy. You might have to rewind. Beanie, I appreciate you for tuning in, and I appreciate Connor. Now, unless you got more questions, people, I'll give you a second. I think I might be missing out some. Steve has said, I've only got one more question, people. Steve has said, what's something no one knows about you? Wow, boy. I don't know. I'm left-handed. I don't know. I'd say I'm left-handed. If not that, then I don't know. Like that's my interesting fact. That is the icebreaker in interviews when I used to have chop interviews. It is what it is, man. That's me, anyways. So yeah, man. I think with that, that wraps it up. 53 minutes. That's what I'm saying. He was known for the model thing. Like, it's about having a plan, man. If you've got a plan, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. Of course, we'd all love quality players, world-class players, players that make you go, wow. Who doesn't want to have them FIFA sort of things going on? But life don't work like that, man. It is what it is. We're at that state now where we just need basic players now. We just need people who could do the job. Can we put our hat on you for 10 games? Can we put our hat on you for 20 games? Can we get a basic level of consistency? If we can't, there's not an issue. Hey, Peter, I knew there was a reason you supported the thing. Big up the left-handed dons. Only 10% of us in the world. That's crazy. You're making me want to go on Google and type in interesting facts about left-handers. Must be something wavy. I know there's something wavy, like we're more creative. Oh, more prone to migraines and allergies. Two things I have. More likely to suffer sleep. Bare thing. What's going on? None of them wavy stats. Forget all of that, man. Let's forget all of that. I'm probably on the wrong website, man. I want to see some positive left-handed propaganda. This is all a bit mad. What's all of this? Thought it was gonna say some wavy stuff like we all got the same IQ as Einstein or something to gas up, but clearly you haven't. People, it was all mad. Peter, it was a madness. It's absolute hella negative propaganda there. I don't want to see that at all. At all. More likely to curlers from the edge of the box. Left-handed, right-footed, man. God shagged me. You know, I would have loved to. I can use my left, but I would have loved to have been. I am right-footed. I would have loved to have been left and left, man. Got shagged. Absolutely shagged. Yeah, man. With that though, 5 minutes short of an hour. I think that's the end of the Q&A, people. So I'm gonna get out of here. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Please make sure you're checking out the pinned tweet. Man said pinned tweet, pinned message, because it's watch along business this weekend. Drop another shameless plug of a link in here. And why not, people? You know, make sure you've set your reminders. You know, I can see you lot laughing, so hopefully I provided some sort of quality. But yeah, man, I'm gonna get out of here, people. I'll let you know when the next one's at. As usual, big up all the members, big up the moderators, big up everybody listening. But it's Friday, I'm out of it. I'll probably be online tomorrow. I don't want to say the collab, you know, it's a collab that's happened on my show before, but I want to just make sure it happens, and then you'll see the link. So I'm not doing all the pre-settings and stuff, but I should be online from 10 to 11 tomorrow AM, and then that's it until Sunday. But until then, people, enjoy what's left of your Fridays wherever you are. Enjoy your weekends and stuff. I'll be with you lot on Sunday evening, and hopefully Arsenal do a Mazzolini for us in a positive way. But it is what it is. I'm out.